Now, hey, black women, I said I was not going to get involved in this and I wasn't going to say anything, but I just can't keep watching these videos. Now, I know y'all are all aware of Amy Chen, right? Now, she may come on and she may speak things that those of us that know our black history in this country understand and know without her having to tell us or enlighten us. So I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all, right? There's nothing she's talking about that I'm not aware of, right? And so I think it was her because I never got to see the video, but I did hear about an Asian woman suggesting that Asians and black people should unite in reference to civil rights and social issues, right? Now, I've also heard this recently on YouTube in regards to Jewish people and black people as well. And I want to let you know about a little black history that you all, if you weren't taught in school or your parents or family members didn't tell you about this, you need to know, right? Black people have aligned themselves 100 years ago with Jewish people and other Southeastern Europeans in regards to jobs, police brutality, unionization, living, decent living conditions, education, you name it, right? Do you know what came out of that attempt? The Jewish people used the black people. They used our numbers to help them get what they needed to better their lives and their group of people. And then they turn around and shit it all over the black people and help to create laws to further keep us disenfranchised. That was 100 years ago, right? Then about 50, 60 years ago, we also already had a so-called alliance or come together with Asians and Hispanics, right? Two different occasions. But for the most part, during the beginning of the civil rights, right? You had a few Asian people and Hispanics in this country who were going through the same things that black people were going through. So, we thought then as well, okay, let's come together since we're all people who are being done the same way by this one colonizer, and let's do it. All right. They did the same thing, both groups. Back then, before 1976, or I think it was, Hispanics were literally categorized and called and legally documented as Hispanics, non-whites, right? They did the same thing the Asians did, went out of their way to try to fight for whiteness. They went out of their way to do this whole anti-blackness campaign where they no longer wanted to be called Hispanics. This is where this Latin shit comes from, Latino shit comes from. When they don't speak Latin, Latin has never been a people. It has never been a place. It has always been a language used by the colonizers who enslaved the Hispanics by the approval of the Catholic Church that called their lands Latin America. So, maybe they don't know their own history and they're, making fun of the fact that they were enslaved by the Catholic Church and the priests and everybody else that are part of the members of the Catholic Church, and they called the areas that they enslaved and indoctrinated and harassed and colonized Latin America. And now these people run around calling themselves Latina and Latino, whatever. And Latin never had anything to do with people or a place. It always had to do with a language. Even when they were enslaving people, the reason that they called it Latin America was to let people know that this was a territory owned and sanctioned, slave territory, owned and sanctioned by the Catholic Church for the Spaniards. Because in the old world, you had a huge war between who was owning and running slaves between the Portuguese and the Spaniards. So if they want to claim that kind of history, more power to them. But to try to make it seem like, that's something so more superior and spectacular to being called a Hispanic, I think is quite silly, but they call themselves what they want. Their history will never change. So when we decided to try to do an alliance with them, they all did the same thing. The Asian people used their teachings from black people, the movements from civil disobedience from Martin Luther King and others, to gain their own civil rights movements and their reparations with their civil rights organization that they created after building alliances and piggybacking off of us. It took them 40 years to get their reparations from America, but they got it. 40 years from them being in concentration camps. Then with the Hispanics, they never got reparations, but they got civil rights packages and deals after their alliance with us. And what did they do? They sold black people out. They used all of our lawyers and all of the programs that we had worked so hard to build for ourselves to build up their own people. And then when their own people got to a position higher than black people, they never considered our well-being or spoke about our welfare or health or anything ever again, even to this day. So whenever you see these people talking about there needs to be an alliance or coming together of black and whomever, give them your middle finger and keep going, because all that is a call and a cry for another group of people to further use and abuse you and to put themselves in a better position where their proximity to whiteness gives them more power and more access to whatever it is they're gunning for and leaving you out in the cold. They're all just looking to throw you under the bus, which is what they all did originally anyway with each one of those movements from the past. And every one of those movements, the oldest one being with the Jewish people, was 100 years ago. The Asian people 60 years ago. The Hispanics 50 years ago. None of them can be trusted. And even though you may think I'm being a Debbie Downer or a Sister Killjoy, I'm not. I'm speaking pure facts from history. And the things that you don't know about history will repeat themselves again if you allow yourself to be vulnerable and to be used. Because these people are very organized to take advantage of black people by using them and pretending to be on your side. So unless black people are going to get together, right, and really start organizing the way we used to back in the days of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and all those other leaders before them, and really put black people first and only care about black people, you're never going to have anything, because all these other people are always going to come to you with this lying, false goddamn narrative to get you to get on their side, because they need the numbers. They need the numbers to put the pressure on the whites to get what they want. And then all they're going to do is leave you out of the mix, throw you under the bus, and then talk about how you need to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. They're all a bunch of fucking clowns. Black people, you need to realize you have no friends in this world, and especially in this country. You need to learn to stick together no matter where you are and work for your progress and your upward mobility solely and only, because all these people are just gaming and trying to play with you. Even with this situation I exposed on my channel about how I think it is June 1st or whatever, all of the Hispanics are not going to work or something like that. Black people, you can participate in that if you want, but I can guarantee you that you will not get anything out of that. And they will use your numbers to make sure they get housing, make sure they take advantage of all types of grants for businesses that are there for you that you're not even aware of. They will not tell you about it, but they will go to like the Black Chamber of Commerce or any chamber of commerce in the area they know of. They will apply for grants from the government that are usually put there for black people that black people don't take advantage of, and they will somehow try to make it seem like, oh yeah, I'm black, or I could qualify for this too, or the white people just give it to them because they want to give it to them before they give it to you. And I'm sorry, if you don't realize that every time these people come here illegally, they put them in our communities to take away resources from us to give to them. As the president said, he's going to invest in them, which means we don't get invested in. If you don't know that by now, I don't know what to tell you. And when you're out here suffering, and when you go to get help with anything and people tell you you got to wait, or you're going to be waitlisted, put on a wait list in order to get services that only your kind, only your group of people died for, fought for, were enslaved for, created this whole fucking country for. But another person can come from another country and just come and, like in my city, be given immediate housing, shelter. And now, because there's so many of them, and the federal government is not trying to do anything about them coming to the state because they're upset that the state is a harbor state, and they can't bully the black people the way they want to. They'll try to bring these people into the state to replace and supplement them for the black people. They do this time after time. But you can always rely on the hatefulness of white people to eventually turn this shit around, because it's coming. But I'm only making this video to tell black people, mind your fucking business. Stop trying to be kumbaya with people who really fucking hate you and do not like you. I'm telling you right now. Because they are going to use you, set you up, abuse you, and then fuck over you in the very end. And if you do not believe me, go back into the history 100 years to learn what happened with the Black and Jewish Alliance. Go back 60 years for the Black and Asian Alliance. And then go back 50 years for the Black and Hispanic Alliance. Did you never wonder why there's such an issue or so much of a disdain between blacks and Hispanics? Because we trusted them and they all fucked us over. But this is why you should learn your black history. And this is why you should stop being out in this world with this kumbaya shit and always trying to act like, you're colorblind and people don't see other people's colors. Because that's some ridiculous shit within itself. That's for another video. But you need to know, whenever anybody's talking about alliance, when it comes to black people and others, they only want to use you for the numbers you bring to their movement. And once they get their movement going, just the same way they did with Black Lives Matter, they're going to take over that shit and use it for what they really truly want it for, and leave you in a situation where you gain absolutely nothing for it. So y'all do what you want, but you have been warned, okay? If I was you, I would let Hispanic people fight for Hispanic people the same way they've been doing the whole time they came to this country and the whole time that they're here. They are some of the most racially prejudiced, racially motivated people, anti-black people I have ever met. And it doesn't matter how long you know them, have children with them or whatever, they have severe hate and love to be anti-black. I mean, it is what it is. So, enter at your own risk, okay? You've been warned. Read a little bit of your history. Read and study your history in this country. Learn and understand how these people use us to get what they want. And if you want to learn to stop all of this and to get in a position to come together, have solidarity, unite, the first thing you need to do to learn how to make that happen is pick up all those books that Dr. Claude Anderson wrote about black people and the power structure in this country and how to get back what you worked so hard for and were enslaved for. There's a book, Powernomics. You can read that. He has several other books. Just type in Dr. Claude Anderson. All of those books will pop up, and everything he talks about in there will shift the economic demographic. It will shift it if you follow it. And what I would suggest to black people is you need to start patronizing your own people only. Stop buying from all these other people. If you can't find what you want in your community, there's always a black person online selling those things. Take the time. Use the black apps. Use the black websites. Find the people to support black. Buy black. Stay giving your money to black. Stop buying Chinese food. Stop going to get your nails done at Asian stores and shit like that, especially the ones where they're disrespectful. You don't need to do it. If you search hard enough, there are black ones and other people. You don't necessarily need to be bothered with them. Well, fuck it. Learn to do your shit at home. It ain't that hard. We used to do it before they opened up all these nail shops. We used to do it before. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I have noticed that, you know, whenever somebody comes on here and gives any type of fake fucking advocation for black people lose their minds because they're not centered in themselves, right? Amy Chen is not a savior, all right? She's on some bullshit like everybody else. And because she decides to speak a few facts about history and the state of white supremacy doesn't mean that she's really for you or about anything. Let her ass go do something instead of just talking on TikTok. When she goes and actually starts doing something by herself without our help for us, then I'll believe her. Until then, she's just talking shit. She talking the same type of shit that angry biracial's talking. End of story. Good night, y'all. Stop being so easily hoodwinked, okay? Check out a lot of these women that are on YouTube telling you and showing you how to get out of this mindset of worrying about, you know, always trying to conform to somebody else's opinion and worrying about fucking relationships with dudes and continuously listening to dumb shit like Cynthia and Princella and the rest of them. Center yourself, black women. Change your mindset and your lifestyle, and everything in it will change as well. Please. I know y'all don't like to listen to older women because, you know, we not young, we not light-skinned, and we not bending over and, I guess, posing and shit on Instagram and all that other silly shit I see young girls doing. But believe me, you need to listen every once in a while. It will save you a ton of fucking worry and hardship in the years to come. You need to listen sometimes. Because life really ain't about all that silly shit y'all on here talking about day in and day out. Which is the reason why a lot of people, including myself, pull back a lot these days. Because we talking and giving out lots of information and wisdom and nobody gives a fuck. Because they rather listening to dumb shit like Cynthia, Princella, and etc. Y'all not gonna learn shit until things get so hard that you're going to have no choice but to learn. Y'all got to get it together, man. Flexing relationships and worrying about all that silly shit and you be dead in 3 months. Come on, y'all. You got to do better than that. Fuck the whole bus driver thing is dead. Y'all beat that shit to death. That's done. Everything dealing with black males is done. Y'all need to start centering black women, how we need to come together collectively and use our money to make political impact so that our lives can change. And so that no matter what the fuck they do with any immigrant they bring to America, we ensure that black women and children always have a place to live. Those women have jobs. Those kids have decent schools to go to, and that our communities that the black women and those children live in are decent and beyond the basic standards of living conditions. You got to do more, okay? Way more. But I really suggest you start out with black unity and black solidarity. Let everybody else continue to fight for themselves. Don't join anybody else's fight. Because in the end, you're just going to get used and abused and thrown under the bus the same way they have been doing for the last 100 years. Good night.